Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now then, in today's video we're going to be looking at our WPL supplied kit C54. Now when they supplied this to me, they also sent me a 2-speed motor and gearbox because I wanted to test something out. And that is the fact that, let's say you buy a kit C54 or you buy a C34 or whatever it is, and you want to install a 2-speed motor and gearbox, but perhaps you don't want to use the WPL electronics. How do you go about doing it? Now then, I recently acquired, if you check out my other videos, I recently acquired this Flysky transmitter which has a 3rd channel function on it. So I'm wondering, how do I set up the gear shift on the 3rd channel to my Flysky controller there? So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be replacing the WPL stock electronics. We're going to be sticking in a WPL 2-speed motor gearbox, and we're going to try and get the 2-speed gear selection to work with non-WPL electronics. So anyway, enough of the waffle, let's get on with it. I think the first thing to do is remove the bodywork, and we can get access to the chassis, drive shafts, everything else, etc. so we can fit our 2-speed motor here. Okay then, that's the bodywork off, revealing the chassis. I've disconnected the drive shafts from the 180 motor and gearbox, which we're now about to remove. I'm just going to remove the old D12 electronics that I put in, and we're going to start installing our 2-speed motor and gearbox and replace the D12 ESC receiver combo with some suitable electronics. Now before I go installing the motor and the electronics in the truck, what I normally like to do is have a bit of a dry build first, just to make sure everything works before I start installing it. So what I've gone ahead and done is bind one of our Flysky receivers here to the transmitter. I've soldered the little ESC that I've got lying around to the motor, put some power leads on it, connected the steering servo, and basically just quickly tried it. Now on the Flysky receivers, we've got a channel 1, channel 2, and the important one for us in this video is channel 3, because channel 3 is what the gear change servo is plugged into. So we'll just quickly try it. I'll just move you over here. Got our controller, steering, check, motor, check, and more importantly we've got a button here on the handle for channel 3. So if we click that, we should see the gear change or gear select work, which it does. Now the beauty of using a more expensive controller is the fact that, as you probably noticed, when I activate the gear change servo, you can see it's bending the cradle that it sits in. But the beauty of using the more expensive controller is the fact that I can actually set the endpoints for that servo. So, which basically means I can dictate where the throw of the cam on the end, where the throw finishes. So it does make for a more precise gear change, and it will allow me to not put any pressure on this cradle that it sits in. So in effect, we won't get any deformation. The servo won't try and deform this bit of plastic that surrounds it. Now then, to adjust the endpoints of the gear change servo, what we do is we use the menu. So if we use this little jog wheel here, we can cycle through the different options. Get to endpoint adjustment, click it. It starts to flash there to indicate we're trying to alter channel 3. Now we can click either back or end, and we're going to click the end, and that should start flashing the 100%. And again, we can use the jog wheel to reduce or increase the throw of the little servo. So you probably can't see it there, but as I reduce the percentage, the throw of the little arm reduces. I don't know if you can. I'll just take you over there a minute. If you can see there. I don't know if it's on camera, but I can adjust the throw of that servo. So instead of it being at full, let's try it there, see what the throw's like. It's actually set to 27%. So I'll click yes, and we'll try it. See how it doesn't quite go as far as it did before. So hopefully I will go ahead and fine tune it, but this will stop any stress being applied to the plastic surround that the servo sits in. Now in the end I've actually managed to reduce the servo's action to 10% of its original, and it still manages to change gear perfectly well. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave it on that. Now then, next we are going to basically install this slot in the truck and try it. Right then, this is where we're at. I've installed the motor, I've hot glued the receiver and the ESC to the top of the servo board. Tidied up the wiring a bit. I mean, it is looking quite tidy, which is very unusual for me. Now I'm just about to cut a slightly larger hole in the bottom of the body battery tray in order to accommodate these extra wires here, and to do that we're going to be using the trusty fake Dremel that I've got. So I'll carry on, do that, and then we'll have a look at it. So we're getting there. I'll quickly show you what I've done. I've just made that hole in the battery tray floor a little larger to accept the receiver wires, the power lead and the on-off switch. Also the antenna is there as well. Now then, all I've got left to do is fit the drive shafts. Now unfortunately I've only got the original plastic ones. Now I would recommend, if you've got a 2-speed, that you put metal ones on, because these plastic ones will just get ripped to pieces by this 2-speed eventually. But for the purposes of this demonstration they will do, so I'll go ahead and put them on. I'll also, because obviously our Flysky transmitter is fully programmable, I can also program the end stops for the steering servo as well, so we no longer get that sort of suspension alteration when you steer. You know, when you steer and it pulls one side of the truck down or the other. Well, we can eliminate that by using the end stops on the controller. So I'll go ahead, like I say, stick the rest of these drive shafts on. Unfortunately it's dark at the moment, so I'll have to wait till morning, but first thing in the morning we'll go out and try it. Slight change of plan then, couldn't quite get these plastic drive shafts to fit on the motor output shaft. I think the motor output shaft must be slightly too big, so I would have had to drill these out, which I didn't really want to use them anyway. But as luck would have it, I managed to cobble a couple of old metal drive shafts together from spares, so happy days. Anyway, these are going to be much better with that 2-speed motoring gearbox. Let's go and try it. And there we have it, setting up our 2-speed gear shift with a programmable controller on the 3rd channel. Nothing difficult about that, super easy to do. So if you possibly didn't want the WPL electronics, you've got some electronics of your own floating around, as you can see, you can use the channel 3 and you can program it yourself. There's nothing inherently wrong with WPL's electronics, and I will go as far as to say that I actually prefer the Res 3 when piloting a 2-speed motor and gearbox, because the low-down crawl is much better than that cheap little ESC that I put in. They're okay, but they're not up to much. You do get a lot of juddering on reverse for some reason. I think it's probably something to do with the modulation of the board. And if you're a regular to this channel, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the 2-speed. It absolutely transforms any little RC that you stick it in. It goes from like a passable little trail truck to, well, as you can see from the video, it will make it have a go at some decent sized obstacles. Now, before I forget, I did in fact change the endpoint adjustment from the 10% in the earlier part of the video to actually 30%. Although it was changing gear, it would jump out. So by increasing it to 30, it did stop the gearbox from jumping out of gear. Also, you've got a very useful function on this Flysky transmitter in the fact that you can adjust the exponential, and this basically means I think I adjusted it to about 30%, plus 30%, which means I get a little bit of extra throttle in the first few degrees of the trigger pull, and I find this I do find this very useful with a crawler. Once again, a big thank you to WPL for supporting the channel and supplying the motor and gearbox for today's video. If you'd like any of their products, I shall put a link in the description where you can purchase them. Also, if you like the Flysky transmitter, etc., all the links basically I've used for the products in the video, I will stick in the description below for you. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video and you found it of some use, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button for more similar future content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you again soon. Thank you.